Hey, what up, everybody? And welcome to the premiere edition of So You Wanna Be a Musician. This little podcast is going to give you the ins and outs on what to do, what to look for, what not to do, and what not to look for in your quest to become famous. And as always, this podcast, as well as others in the Jazzy Groove Rainy Day podcast family, are brought to you by the Power of Five. If you like what we're doing, help support it. And now, on with the podcast. For the purposes of this discussion, we will lump everybody, whether you're an artist, a singer, a songwriter, a producer, any one of those people, we're going to put them as a musician, just for the purposes of this conversation. And the object of anybody that enters the business is to become famous. That's what everybody wants. They want to become famous. Well, I have some news for you people. A lot of you are getting into this because you watched your favorite rapper, your favorite artist, your favorite singer on television in front of hundreds of thousands of people doing what they love and making a nice living out of it. Okay, that's well and good. But now you got to ask yourself a very important question. And that question is it really that easy? Is it that simple? Is the only thing I have to do to become famous is to get my stuff out there? And once I get it out there, the money should roll in, right? I'm here to tell you, no, it ain't. The first thing that I tell anybody that asks for any sort of advice from me about getting into the business is this: a simple fact that most people, for whatever reason, no, actually, no, that's not true. I was going to say for whatever reason don't want to hear, but I already know the reason why they don't want to hear it. And we'll get into that in just a second. But the thing is, if you enter the business with the end goal of becoming rich or making a lot of money, don't bother. Get out. Because it's not that easy. It's not easy at all. This is one of those times where this truism is in a full effect. If it really was that easy, everyone would do it. Now, is it worth doing? If you truly love what you do, absolutely yes. Full disclosure, I am what I call a semi professional musician. Semi professional in the sense that I do have my stuff out there in the internet. I do make money off of it, but not enough to retire off of, not enough to even quit my second job, my day job. But I do it because I love doing it. There is something special about sitting down in front of a keyboard, sitting down in front of a computer, having inspiration strike you, and then you just jot it down and you arrange it and you compose it and you end up with this incredible product that you're very proud of. I can't tell you for the life of me what it is because I don't know. But at the same time, I can tell you there's no other feeling like it. The only things that come close to it, or I will say surpass it, was the birth of my children. If you can think of the joy that you felt when you introduced that new person into your life, into the world, you have a pretty good feeling idea of the feeling I'm talking about. You have a pretty good feeling about the joy that one feels when they create something and introduce it to the world for the first time. The joy is incomprehensible because you did this. Sometimes you get help. Yes, you do. Sometimes you do it on your own. But at the end of the day, you did this. It's a product of your blood, your sweat, and your tears. Sure, other people, and as I said before, other people can help. You could get stuck, and a friend or colleague will come by and say, "What you working on?" And you explain to them, say, "Why don't you try this?" And you try it, and it works. That's not taken away from them. They helped you get over the hump. But when it's all said and done, it's your product. And that also is not saying don't give always give credit where it's due. If you have somebody help you with a song, give them credit for it. There ain't no shame in the game if you have to get help. If there's nobody that's going to look down on you if you come with a co-writer or two. None at all. But getting back to the topic, if you're in it if you're in it for the glory, if you're in it for instant gratification, you might as well look somewhere else. Because I'm here to tell you, it's not even close to being that easy. And why do I say that? I say that because the music company as a whole is not the most friendly of businesses to get into. It's cutthroat. And it's weird that it's cutthroat because there's room for just about everybody in it. There's room for everyone. But you wouldn't know that for listening to some of these artists out there, especially if you're into what I like to call urban music. Urban in general and hip hop in particular. Hip hop has always been about self from its very beginnings. A good friend of mine wrapped up the term quite nicely when he called it braggadocious. Because that's what rap is. Bragging on yourself. I got this. I got that. I got cars. I got girls. I got money. I got cred. Street cred, that is. And you don't. And you wish you could be me so you could partake in what I have. Not a good look, especially once the record companies found out how much money could be made in it. You see, rap music as we know it, not when it started, because when it started, South Bronx can have that in the early 70s, the last poets and all that good stuff. That's all fine, but that's not where we are now. Rap music as it stands today started in 1979 in Hollis, Queens, by a group called the Fatback Band out of Linden Boulevard in St. Albans with a song entitled King Tim III Personality Jock. And that's what they called it because there was no MC or DJ back then. What do we call it? I don't know. We call it a personality jock. The flow, the cadence, the music, all of it was the grandfather of what we have today. Now, as I said before, it did start earlier, but you wouldn't know it from what we hear today. And granted, what we have today is nowhere near what it was back in the 70s. And I say this because I was down with it from the beginning. I was emceeing in 1979 in St. Albans, New York. I was told by more than one person that I had what it took and I should be signed. This is at 15, 16 years old. I had the flow. Now, I had been writing music since I was 8. So I had lots of practice. But rapping came natural to me. The words just flowed. Because as my good friend Cecil, shout out to you, Cecil Sanchez, my brother from another mother, the Count of Love, he once said to me, well, we were in the 9th grade in high school, and we were sitting down in homeroom, and he asked me about songwriting. He said, "Can you write a song?" I'm like, I don't know. He said, "Can you write a poem?" Of course. He said, "Then you can write a song, because song is nothing but poetry set to music." Oh, all right. And off we went to the races. And I had my ups and my downs. I had more downs than ups, which explains why I'm here today. Although I would say if I had more ups than downs, I'd still be here today. It would just be in a different setting, in a different situation. I wouldn't be a semi-professional musician. I would be a full-fledged musician, making a living off what I do and loving every second of it. Now, most of that is true. I do love what I'm doing. I'm just not making the money that I could make. And that ties into yet another very interesting topic that I have to come up with today. And that is why? Because if I tell you don't bother, your first question after that should be, well, why? You do it. You're not where you need to be, but you do it. Why can't I do it? Well, here's the thing. No one's ordering you not to do it. I'm suggesting that you don't. I'm not telling you don't do it. I'm not telling you hang up on your dreams and don't worry about it and just go get a 9 to 5 and live your life. I'm not saying that at all. If you know what you want to do and you have a passion to do it, by all means do it. One thing that my father told me when I told him what I wanted to do, he told me go for your dreams, but always have a backup plan in case the main thing doesn't work out. And I think that could be part of the reason why I am where I am. Because when the music didn't work out, my second love was computers. And so I got into computers and music. I tabled it for a while, and I got good at computers. Then I found out that you could marry the two. You could do music on a computer, and that's when the two melded, and that's where I stand today. I love this thing called music. I love creating from thin air. Then I love showing to the world what I've created. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. One of the reasons why I am where I am is because of that indifference, for lack of a better term. I don't care whether you like it or not. I like it. I do it because I like it. And I know that there are people out there that also like it, which is why I make money doing it. It's nowhere near enough to sustain myself or my family. Hence, I work a day job. But don't get it twisted. No one's telling you not to do it. Just be aware that your best may not be good enough. And there are reasons for that. Have I given it all I got? No. I can say that with my full chest. No, I haven't. And I haven't because I have a family. I've got a wife and children to provide, protect, and look out for. And to do this the way it needs to be done, I would have to be selfish, and I can't afford to be selfish. So I'm muddling along, doing what I'm doing, thinking that it may kick off, it may not. But at the end of the day, I did it. And I'm thankful for given the ability to do it. No more, no less. I'm thankful for allowing myself, or being allowed, I should say, the opportunity to express myself musically. But back to the topic yet again. Why? Why am I not giving it all, my all? As I said before, I've got a family. So the first thing that I would tell anybody who wants to aspire to become, not okay, we're not even going to say famous. We're going to say good at what you do. The famous stuff will come. But the first thing you need to do is focus on your craft. And that goes for anything. Find out what you're good at and work it. Find out what makes you go, what makes it work for you, what makes you tick, what gives you the most enjoyment, and do it and repeatedly do it and get good at it. And then once you're good, work on it some more and become great at it. And the reason why most people won't get great at it is because work is hard. And let's face it, people are averse to work. They don't want to do it. Which is why the saying is when you love what you do, you don't never work a day in your life. Because it's not work. You enjoy doing it. You will love sitting down in front of your computer in front of your keyboard, putting your head down and just creating. You get enjoyment out of it. So no, it's not work. But to the every person looking outside, looking in, that looks like work. That looks like hard work. I don't want to do that. To which I say, whatever. I'm gonna keep doing mine. You also have to develop a form of narcissism. And I'll say that because you got to believe in yourself, but understand your competition. Be braggadocious, but understand there are people out there who got you beat. The scariest thing that I ever thought of, that I actually thought, that I heard of, and then actually saw it, was that there are people out there who can blow you away. And they're the same place you are. There are people out there who can rhyme, they can sing, they can write, they can play. Way better than most of the people you hear on the radio. And yet, they're on the radio and they're at home, kicked back, watching TV with their kids. Or in their studio, working on new tracks. Is it fair? Nope. Is it right? Uh-uh. Is it just? Of course not. Is it kind? Don't make me laugh. It's just the way things are. Music at its core isn't what you know. It's who you know. And even then, you need help. I know some very famous people. Hell, I was good friends with the family and kids of a very famous musician. Yet here I am. And I don't hold that against that person. As a matter of fact, I think the world of that person, for all intents and purposes, I consider him my second father. Because I learned a great deal from him. So yeah, I knew people. But it wasn't enough. Now, That could change tomorrow. You never know what the next day is going to bring you. So that could change. But for all intents and purposes, I have to say I'm content with where I am. Could it get better? Yes. Do I want more? Oh yes, yes I do. But not for me. I want the very best for my family. I want something for my long suffering wife who has been supportive of my efforts, while at the same time being realistic. And I thank her for that. I want what's better for my children, who they've been spoiled to the best of my ability. I have spoiled them. Hands up, it's me. Yeah, I did it. I have spoiled them as much as I could, but I want to spoil them more. I yearn for the day we go out anywhere and my kids want to say, "Can we have this?" Okay, don't even look at the price. You want it, it's yours. Now on the flip side of that, I will also say that I expect a great deal from them. So yeah, I'll get you what you want, but I expect you to do what I ask you to. And if you don't, we got a problem. So it's spoiling, but not spoiling, because you're gonna earn it. You'll get it. You'll get the rewards, but you're gonna earn them. Now, circling back to this whole wannabe famous malarkey, I've already told you that if you're in it for the money, you shouldn't bother. But if you do want to bother, you need to be selfish to a certain extent, and you have to be narcissistic to a certain extent. You got to think that your shit don't stink. But at the same time, open to criticism. See, there's a balance that you have to strike. Yeah, I think my music is hot. But if someone critiques me, I have within me to say, okay, let's take that on board for the next project. Just the other day, when I was at work, there was a young lady who I introduced to my stuff. And I asked her about it. And she said, it sounds pretty good. It's not stuff I would normally listen to, but it sounds pretty good. What do you listen to? See, right there is an opportunity. She said it's not what you would normally listen to. So I need to formulate it with that in mind. Okay, if you don't like jazz funk, we'll call it junk. If you don't like junk, what do you like? R&B and hip hop and that sort of thing. Okay. Then the next project maybe should be more R&B-ish, more hip hop-ish, while still keeping the core component of what I write, which is jazz funk. It's an opportunity. And also, I live by the mantra, the day I stop learning is the day I stop breathing. I live by that mantra. I'm always learning. My hunger for learning is insatiable. I love learning new things. I love being surprised by something because that's a chance to learn from it. Also, another truism that I've heard that fits into this discussion, that which does not kill you makes you stronger. In a nutshell, that means you learn till you die. Because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, which means you've learned from that. It didn't finish you. So you learned from it. And you learned, you grew from it. You gained strength from it. So, yes, that which does not kill you makes you stronger. Now let's break down how this whole music business works. And we'll start with the idea. You got a tune that's buzzing around in your head. And you're playing with it in your head. It sounds good to you. Hmm, this sounds good. What can I do to get this out to the people? You got to record it. So you go about recording it. If it's just you multi-track it. If it's you and some friends, you play it as a band. Finished product, you have it ready. You have the song. We'll call it the song. And you're playing it, and you and the guys above me said, yeah, this is tight, this is good, this is tight. Yeah, this will work. The next question pops into your head. How do I get this out there to the masses? Here's where things start to get murky. There are two major ways you can go about it. One, you can do it all yourself. Or two, you can sign with a label. Signing with a label is easier because everything that's done behind the scenes is done on your behalf, and you don't get your hands dirty doing it. Doing it yourself means you gotta get a manager. If you gotta get a manager, you gotta get representation, which mostly means creating your own label, staffing it, and all that brings its own set of challenges. Because the first thing you need to do in starting your own label is you got to find people who believe in you as much as, if not more, than you do. They got to hear something go, oh man, what can I do to help you get this out there? This has got to get out there. You need that. And the other way, when the label comes, you need a super fan or two. A super fan is someone who just loves you. They love what you do. They love what you stand for. They love you. And they can't get enough of you. That, in a nutshell, is a super fan. They're the first to buy your merch. They're the first to hear your music when it comes out. If you're touring, they're one of the first people to get your tickets. They own all your music. Or in this day, they stream it on their own and they got their own playlist. That's a super fan. Someone who goes above and beyond to show you how much they love you. But let's not get too far into the weeds. You got your song. You need to get out there. And let's say, okay, I'm gonna go with the label. I don't want to do all that stuff. I want to perform it. I want to get paid for it. So you take it to label X. I'm sorry, this is what we're looking for. Okay. Label Y, same thing. Label Z, same thing. Label A, same thing. Label B, same thing. You're going to get a lot of no's. Some people will be nice enough to tell you why. And when they tell you why, keep that in mind. Take that on board. That's criticism. That's criticism. That's critique. It may not be what you want to hear, but it is going to help you grow. Because remember, that which does not kill you makes you stronger. So take it on board when they give you feedback. If they don't, oh well, okay, thank you for your time, and keep it moving. But let's say label Q says, you know what? We like what you're doing. We're going to assign you to our label. Yes! Yes, we got there. Finally got there. High fives on the slap on the back, all that good stuff like that. We're going to give you $475,000 as an advance. Yes! Yes! $475,000. Yeah, no, hold it. Whoa. Pump your brakes. Because here's one of the many, many things that people will never tell you about the music business. The first thing, that advance they're giving you, that's a loan. And the loan is payable when due. And it'll be due when the record company thinks it's time to collect. So they'll normally give you 6 months to a year. But that $475,000 that they give you, you're thinking it's for yourself. You're going to buy a car, you're going to buy a house, you're going to buy a watch, you're going to treat your girl out, this, that, and the other thing. No, no. Because that $475,000, unless you stipulate it in the contract, and let's be real, you're a newbie, you're green. You don't know nothing about nothing. So you don't know to ask these questions. So they give you $475,000. Okay. Now, you go into the studio. You got to pay the producer. You got to pay the mixer. You got to pay the sound man. And if it's just you, you got to pay the session musicians. But let's just say you come in with a demo. You got all that stuff. And actually, these days, you don't want a demo. Demos mean more money out of your pocket. Because that means more money out of the studio's pocket. And the studio's not going to pay it. You're going to pay it. So you got your finished product. You got your master. You still got to go and it's mixed, but it's not tight. It's not clean. So you're going to have to get it mixed. So you're going to go into the studio and get it remastered. That costs money. Let's say about, it's going to cost you let's say about $15,000 to get your product mastered. That's 10 songs. You got to get the vocals. You got to get the vocals crisp. You got to get the highs high, the lows low, the mid range where the mid range is. It needs to be remastered. So 15,000. That brings you down to about 450. And let's keep a running tab of this. So now you got your mastered product. I want to shoot a video. Hold it. Who's paying for this? Short answer. You. You're paying for it. Because the studio invested all this money in you. They're not paying any more than they have to. And they should feel they shouldn't have to because they gave you $475,000. So you got to get a shot. You got to pay for the location. You got to pay for the director. You got to pay for any extras you want on the set, any props you want on the set. And let's say that's about $100,000 because you got your extras, you got your fancy cars, you got your bling, wearing your bling, stuff like that. You got a good director, you got a good cameraman, you got a good producer. $100,000. Now you're down to $350,000. How do you get the video out there? You got to grease the palms, man. You're now down to 300,000. Now that's one asset of it that's finally out there. You get into rotation. You hope and pray. Then you have your appearances. You're just starting. So there is no come up for you. You're going to make the rounds. So it's up to you for travel, hoteling, and that cost of living. And let's just say you want the Northeast. You're in New York City. You want Boston. You want Connecticut. You want Philly. You want Buffalo. Basically, you want the Northeast. That's another 100,000. You're down to 200,000. And let's remember one of the greatest things that you thought you knew that turns out you didn't know at all. And that is this truth. Radio doesn't pay to play. You hear about mechanical royalties, you hear about performance royalties. It doesn't apply to radio. As a matter of fact, if you want something done on the radio, more times than not, you got to pay for it. Yes, you. Let's say it's another 50,000. You're down to 250,000 now. And with the travel, if it's with a group, now you got to split with the money. Which is why if you're in a group, it shouldn't be more than 4. Because anything more than 4, you're losing money. Something else I never told you. The music business is just that, a business. And the object of any business is to turn a profit. You need to be making money. So every decision that's made must be made with the end goal of being profitable, to make more than you lose. Because you will lose. You simply want to make more than you lose, so that at the end of at the end of the day, when everything's said and done, you're happy. So now you got to pay these people. They're all traveling with you all over the Northeast. You got your video into rotation. You're making the promo rounds. You also, and this is one of the main reasons why radio doesn't pay for it, because when you're doing your promotional rounds, you have to give away a copy of what you're promoting, so they can get honest feedback from it. So you giving something to somebody who may or may not like it. Now, if it's a interview, they'll shower you with platitudes and how great it is, this and other thing like that. Take that with a grain of salt, because they're saying that to your face. They're not saying what they really want to say because you're there. You get a more realistic approach if you submit it to somebody. Then you're not there. You're not in their face. They don't have to sugarcoat it. They can tell you what it really is, and take that with a grain of salt. If they don't like it, they normally tell you why. Take that on board. Does anybody like negative commentary? No, not at all. I don't like it. I don't know anyone that does. But that negative feedback, when applied to your craft, makes better results down the road. Remember, music is like life, and life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. You have to take a big picture approach. What am I doing a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? And how can I position myself for the maximum outcome at the end of those 5 years? That's something that I'm still working on. I know where I want to be. I just have to figure out the best way to get there. And once I figure it out, I'll let you guys know. It'll make for good content, if nothing else, right? And with that, we're going to call this first installment to a close. We're gonna finish up here. I want to thank you all for listening. This will be the first in a series of infrequent podcasts, because I'm basically going to shoot this when the mood strikes me. And listening to tunes in the car today made me want to talk about this. Now, it won't be like once a month, once every other month. It's going to be, at the very least, bi-weekly. But more like once a week. And we're gonna continue to break down the do's and the don'ts of making a name for yourself in an overcrowded market. Music has reached, it's actually beyond the saturation point now. To quote D Nice, and this was back in the early 80s, there's 1,000 MCs on the planet Earth. It's more like 1,000,000 now. Everybody's a rapper. Everybody. Don't believe me? Turn on any dating podcast. I don't care what it is. But more likely than not, if there are non-white women on the panel, there's going to be at least one that's a rapper. That comes under entrepreneur. I'm a rapper. So is she. So is he. So are they. And then they do this stuff. Don't sound like nothing. Am I biased? Abso-freaking-lutely. As a student of the game who grew up in the game, who grew up around some of the greatest rappers in history, who grew up with Run DMC, who lived down the street from LL Cool J, who knew Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, who was down with the Hollis crew. We're more of association, but you get it. I was at ground zero when rap kicked off. I knew what it sounded like then. I know what it sounds like now. We went from stories and braggadocio to street life and braggadocio to murder and braggadocio. I got you, girl. You step in my way. Bop, bop, bop. 3 slugs to the chest. Is that rap? You tell me. I don't think so. But then again, that's just me. And if you like it, if you want to do it, please, by all means, do it. No one's telling you not to. No one's telling you you can't do what you want to do. There will be people out there who will tell you, you really shouldn't do that. You really shouldn't do that. You really shouldn't do that. But it's up to you to take or decline that advice. If they tell you why you shouldn't do it, take that on board while you formulate and make your decision. If they tell you just don't do it, don't do it, put it aside. Go for yours. That was a little sidetrack, and excuse me for talking the way I'm talking. I am very passionate about it. And if I've learned anything, I've learned that doing what you love isn't easy. Doing what you love takes work. You don't think it's work, but it's work. And you put in. And you get out what you put in. So thanks for listening. And as always, like the video. Takes a second, pushes the algorithm, gets it out to more people who hopefully can get something out of what I'm talking about. And if it gets just one person motivated, one person happy, and one person gets a better outcome out of their lives, then my work is done. So until the next, I say, be careful out there, follow your dreams, take the criticisms on board. Peace out.